Kalyani has told that it's a very important topic. So we are going to have 2 days for this topic. First is we'll talk about the background of the act, that why this act was enacted. And then second step is about the details of the act. What happens in the act? What does the act say? How the act is depending on the Vichaka guidelines, which were prepared in 1997. Then tomorrow we'll talk about how to go about when you get the case. What is the role of the external member? Because mainly this training is how you should act and how you should handle the cases when you become the member of the internal complaint committee. Because when we go over there for the meetings, they think that you know everything. You are the guide. So they ask you all types of questions related to act, because the organization, they are not aware of that. They are 100% depending on you. So that's why I had to make it for 2 days, this training, so that we could make out everything about the act. Because as Kalyani said, that we are invited to become the external member of the ICC, but at the same time, AIWC is on the panel of Women and Child Ministry. So that's why also whenever the organizations, they need some external member, they either contact the website or they talk to Women and Child Ministry, and that's how they get the names from AIWC. But when we go over there, we have to make a name for the organization, so that more and more organizations, they are tempted to invite and make AIWC as external members of the organization. For that, we have to be expert in this act. We have to be expert how to handle the cases. So that's why today, very carefully, today and tomorrow, we should listen and we should try to understand. And tomorrow, even today also this time, we'll go for this interaction. If you got any questions in the end of the training, in the end of the session, you are welcome to ask any question from anywhere. I'll be prepared to answer according to my ability. Thank you so much. Let's start with that now. The first is sexual harassment is not normal. So many times it does happen when you feel that you are being sexually harassed. Your colleagues, your friends will say it's a normal thing. When you come out of the house, these things do happen. People are going to pass remarks. People are going to touch you inappropriately. But the employees of the organization, they should refuse to accept this type of behavior, because sexual harassment cannot be considered as a normal behavior in any of the organizations. Now, what is the objective? As I have told you already, empower AIWC members to serve as external members on internal complaint committees under Posh Act. Posh is the abbreviation, Prevention of Sexual Harassment. We call it Posh, P-O-S-H. So we should know about Posh Act, and that is how the external members can be empowered and can make a good name for AIWC. That's the main aim of this training, that how to create a good reputation, good name for a organization. Background to the Posh Act, that why Posh Act was enacted, how it was enacted, what was the background for that, what amounts to sexual harassment at workplace, how to make out whether the employee, whether the women employee has been sexually harassed or she is having some other grievance and she is just misunderstanding the definition, the difference between the grievance and the sexual harassment. So you should be aware what amounts, what is the definition, what leads to sexual harassment. How can we say, yes, this girl is being sexually harassed? Role of Supreme Court in strengthening the act. As you are aware, most of you are aware, when the Vishaka guidelines were formulated, that was also formulated by the Chief Justice of Supreme Court in 1997. So from time to time, Supreme Court has played a very major role in giving the definition to this act, in clarifying the importance of this act and what amounts to sexual harassment. Key features and terms of the Posh Act. Then we will discuss about the act. Now, there are some beliefs and there are some facts about this. What is the belief? It's very rare. People, they say it seldom happens. Women only exaggerate. But the research shows that 40 to 60% working women, they do undergo, they do tolerate the sexual harassment at workplace. The second myth is it is an exaggeration. It is trivial. It's harmless flirtation. But no, for the women who is being sexually harassed, it's very offensive. It's very frightening. I will be talking about certain cases also, which will prove that how frightened the woman feels at the workplace when she is sexually harassed. Insulting to women, it's against the dignity of women. Women make up stories to get back at their employers, colleagues who anger them. So people normally, what do they say? It is a backlash only. They just want to trouble the person who has shouted at them. But no, researches show that less than 1%, normally what happens, people come and they say that ये तो झूठ था जी, लड़की ने कप लगाई है, लड़की झूठ कह रही है because she is not a good worker and that's why she is cooking up stories. But no, only, I mean, I am also working in this field for so many years. I think I started sometimes in 2007, 2006, even when the act was not enacted. And I find only 2 cases I have found which were false. So the research shows that all of the cases, only 1% cases are there which are false. Other cases are genuine. Only thing is we lack how to understand the genuineness of the case, and in order to make the thing simple, we always say, nahi, ye case to jhootha tha. And it needs a lot of confidence, it needs a lot of strength, I'm telling you, lots of courage to come forward and say that I'm being sexually harassed. So it's very rare that a woman will put a false case. You go behind the fact, you just try to see the body language, and you will know that the complaint is not false. Women, even when justified, do not make a complaint. In so many cases, what happens? Even when they are being sexually harassed, they don't make the complaint. They just keep quiet and tolerate it silently. And in so many cases, women even leave the job also. Well, it's an old story that people always say whenever there's a rape, there's an assault, whatever may happen to women, women is the one who is always blamed. We always say because of her behavior, because of her dress, because of her looks, because of her age. But in so many cases, I've seen that women, even above 45, 50, they are also being sexually harassed at workplace, and they dress up in a very decent and graceful manner. ये आदमी का mindset है, आदमी की नजर है, which makes him to harass the woman, because you always think that woman is an object and he can always use her or comment on her the way, when and wherever he likes. So these things we don't believe. If you ignore it, will go away. What do they say? Even your colleague will say, forget it, ये तो होता ही रहता है. No. The moment you accept it, the moment you don't react, they always say that they are encouraged. They think that you agree, that's why you are keeping quiet. So recently I had one case where the man said that she never said no to me, so that's why I thought that she was also agreeing to this type of behavior. But she said it's got out of fear. I was so much frightened, I couldn't say no to him. But so many times through my behavior, I have shown him that I'm not interested in all these things. So these are the myths and facts about the sexual harassment at workplace. Now, India's first legislation specifically addressing the issue of workplace sexual harassment, the sexual harassment of women at workplace. So first time, so now legally also, it is bound that harassment should never happen. If there is any sexual harassment, there is a law which is there to help us. So when was this law enacted? The law was enacted in April 2013 and notified in December 2013. The full form of the act is prevention, because it's not that women should go on suffering. The first duty of the employer is that sexual harassment should be prevented. All steps should be taken to prevent the happening nothing of sexual harassment at workplace. Prohibition, it should be prohibited, and then redressal. So if it does happen, then you have to come forward, help that girl, try to understand the psychology of that girl, and the committee should be there as per the act to help that girl. So the duty of the employer is prevention also, prohibition also, and redressal also. Based on the Vishaka guidelines, so how this act was made, Posh Act, what was the basis? The basis was Vishaka guidelines. So I would just want to share that Vishaka guidelines were formulated in 1997, but the act was in 2013. And Veena Janwal, she was the president at that time. So the parliament had requested AIWC to send your member to participate. So Bulbul and myself, we were deputed to discuss about this act with the Rajya Sabha Parliamentary Committee. So we went to Parliament House and we gave our suggestion on behalf of AIWC. So if you see the copy, the official copy of the document, there the name of All India Women's Conference is also included. So that is also a matter of pride. So that's why I just wanted to share with all of you. Based on the Vishaka guidelines issued by Honorable Supreme Court in August 1997. Now, the main basis of the act was Vishaka guidelines, which were enacted in 97 when J.S. Verma, you remember that Nirbhaya's case of 2012. After that, the government of India, they had formed a committee, those who prepared very strong laws for the protection of women, and the chairperson was J.S. Verma, same person, the one who prepared Vishaka guidelines in 1997. So what was the instructions that till such time these guidelines are not made legal by the parliament, the status of Vishaka guidelines will also be equally legal. So till such time in 2013, when government has taken so many years, 16 years, to prepare this law, Vishaka guidelines had the legal background till that time. The Vishaka guidelines were also prepared on the international level. International Labour Organization, whatever definition they have given about sexual harassment, the same definition was put in Vishaka guidelines also, and the same definition has been repeated in the act also, which was prepared in 2013. Now, Honorable Supreme Court laid down guidelines against sexual harassment at workplace in 1997 in Vishaka versus State of Rajasthan. Now, why the Supreme Court had to intervene? What was the case? I will just take 2 minutes in telling that story. That there was, of course, so many people, they know about this background, that Banwari Devi was there, Satan, a grassroots helper, who used to work to stop the social evils. So in one of the places, this marriage, you know that Rajasthan, a very small girl, which is in the lab, they get married. So when 1-year-old girl was getting married, she intervened and she stopped that marriage. So the Thakurs of this village, they rose against her. It was Sathin of a lower level caste and interfere in the traditions of the state. So they gang raped her when she was working in the field with her husband. They tied her husband and gang raped her. But she was a woman of courage and commitment. So she went to the police station. Police station stopped on a letter, as you know, that how powerful the Thakurs are in the villages and the people of high caste. So she was sent out of the police station, and the police asked her to leave your Gagra so that we can keep the sperm as an evidence. So after that, when police didn't do anything, she went to High Court. High Court said that how can that be that chachas and bhajijas, they can rape in front of each other? Because the person, those who raped her, they were the chachas and the uncles and the nephews. So that's how chachas and bhajijas can rape. That woman, she came to Delhi. So there were few NGOs from Jaipur also. One of those was Vishaka. They also helped her. They came to Delhi, and along with the help of the NGOs in Delhi, Jagauri was also part of that. As Vishaka, they filed a PIL in the Supreme Court. So the petition was filed. What was the demand as per the petition? Enforce fundamental rights. Because Fundamental rights in the Constitution 14, 15, 19, 21. Those are the rights for women also. If those are applicable to men, those are applicable to women also. So those rights also should be enforced as far as the women are concerned. For example, Article 14, that was life for dignity. 15 is no discrimination. And 19 is follow any profession. And 21 is gender equality. So the demand was enforce these fundamental rights for women as well. Second demand was right to gender equality in a time-bound manner. So there should be a limited time when the case is handled and decided. So such authority should be there who within limited time should give the decision if the women is not being treated equally, if the fundamental rights are not being observed. Create an environment free from violence. And the third demand was that the place where the women are working, there should be no violence, zero violence, no physical, no emotional, no mental, no type, nothing type of, and free from violence that place should be. That was the fourth demand. Third demand, expand the scope of constitutional guarantee and fill in the gaps. So what were the gaps? The fundamental rights were there. The women could enjoy and follow any profession. But if they have to face violence, if they have to face harassment, there was no help for this. There was no solution for that because there was a big gap between the law and the implementation of the law. So that the demand was to please fill in the gaps. If you have given us the right to follow any profession, if you have given us the right for no discrimination, if you have given us a right to live with dignity, then there should be a solution and action also if that right is being violated at the workplace. So that's why they filed the PIL, and then the Vishaka guidelines were formulated by Supreme Court in 1997. So what did they say? Following these guidelines, sexual harassment came to be categorized as a human right violation. So it was first time that women were also declared as human beings, equal to men. So that's what J.S. Verma said, that if you violate any fundamental right, this is the violation as human rights. Maybe they are women, because all rights are human rights and all rights are women rights. So that we have to believe also, follow also. Never say, never believe that we are the second-rate citizens, that the men are there to control us. No, I'm not going to say that fight and create that turmoil in the family. But all rights which the man can enjoy must be enjoyed by the women also. That's what the Chaka guidelines said. So it was under CEDA, that Convention for Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. As all of you are aware of that, this is international organization and international convention. So India also ratified CEDA in June 1993. Since we have ratified this convention, so that's why we are supposed to follow the rules, regulations, belief made by CEDA. Now, what does CEDA say? Elimination of discrimination against women. There should be no discrimination, whether it's the workplace or whether it's the domestic place. So this is the photograph of Banwari Devi. We just now I narrated about a Rajasthan lady, the one who was full of courage, conviction, and commitment, who didn't surrender to the authority of the Thakurs and the high caste people in Rajasthan. Now, what is the definition? We must understand what amounts to sexual harassment. What do you mean when the girls say that I am being sexually harassed at workplace? Any physical contact. Any man colleague, boys or seniors, friends, if they want to make a physical contact inappropriately against the consent of the women, that amounts to sexual harassment. Demand or request for sexual favor. If any man requests a woman at the workplace for sexual favors, hug me, let me kiss you, let's go for dinner, spend the night for me. So those are members, those who are from West Bengal, and others also. You must be aware about the case of Ganguly, Judge Ganguly, who forced that girl to spend the night in the hotel, and that also in his room. So this is called the sexual favor. You are asking your employee, you are asking your subordinate to spend the night with her in the same hotel, in the same bedroom. That amounts to sexual harassment. Sexually colored remarks, telling her, you look very sexy in a sari. The black suits you very well. This is a good hairstyle. The girls come to workplace to work and not to get the compliments from their seniors or from colleagues. If they pass such comments and they don't stop it, it amounts to sexual harassment. So pornography. Now, of course, it has become very common to carry the photographs of nude girls. But when I was working at that time, the method was you give the file to your staff or your subordinate officer, and in that file, you put the photographs of the nude women. So showing such photographs, pornography, nude women, that also amounts to sexual harassment. He can say, मैंने तो कुछ नहीं किया जी, those photos were just like that, but no, it is his responsibility that why he is carrying this pornography and photos of nude women in his office. Any other unwelcome. Unwelcome word is very important. Any action of the man which is not welcomed by women, that amounts to sexual harassment. So, my dear friends, why I'm putting so much of time in defining sexual harassment? Because when we go as external member, it is very important for us to understand what amounts to sexual harassment. Because when the girl, they say, had been sexually harassed, normally what happens, the chairperson of that organization will always try to protect the senior. The reason being, first is that she has got a lot of other work and she doesn't want to spend time in handling such cases because she's not so sensitive about the problem. Secondly, he always wants to please her senior or cooperate with her colleague. Third is they don't want to give a bad name to the organization. So that is the first step. But you have to decide, you have to find out whether whatever grievance, whatever complaint she has made, whether it amounts to sexual harassment, because if it's covered under these things, this amounts to definitely sexual harassment. Physical, verbal, or non-verbal conduct of sexual nature. Physically, as I said, inappropriately wants to touch you. Verbal is when he's passing his colored remarks. Non-verbal, he's not saying anything, but his actions. So there was one case in that girl said that, man, at 11 o'clock, 11:30, when I'm having my tea with my friends, 4 or 5 friends, he will put samosa in the plate and send that samosa for me. He's not saying anything, but she is feeling harassed with that action of his. That why specifically for that girl only is offering these eats for her. So that also, that is non-verbal. And or he's talking you, he's not saying anything. Every day when you leave office or you go anywhere, he's after you. Or he's offering you his own transport when you are not interested. Or in the office, he's sitting in front of you and he's staring. So that amounts to sexual harassment. He's not saying, but his action is making you uncomfortable, and that's why it amounts to sexual harassment. So it is not what he says or what he does. It is the impact, the effect of his action, which is felt by the women, that amounts to sexual harassment. So recently we had a case where the girl says that whenever I leave my seat, he is always following me where I am. So many times he used to say, washroom mein why he is spending 1 ghanta, itna time lagta hai. She says the way he used to call, ye ladki kahan gayi bhai. So she felt humiliated that it was against the respect of that woman, the words he was using and why he was following her if she was going to the washroom. He was always being very cautious to whom she was talking, where she was sitting, what she was doing. So she felt very uncomfortable because the environments in the office had become very hostile. That we'll talk later on when we discuss about the act. This is the definition which was given in Vichaka guidelines by the Supreme Court. Shall we move now? Is it okay?
Yes, yes, definitely.
Shall I move forward? Is it clear?
Yes,
Up to
Yes,
here?
yes.
yes,
Absolutely.
Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am.
we can
So
move forward.
nobody should sleep, and
No,
nobody should
No,
just
no.
leave the mobile on or their laptop on and just go to the kitchen. Today,
No,
nothing
no.
will be
I
prepared in
don't
the
think
kitchen.
so.
तुम्हारे सामने सुंदर लग रहे हो आप तो मन बोल रही हूँ
Acha, Suman. Okay, thank you, Suman. Okay, I'll move forward now because I can't
Absolutely.
sit seriously for such a long time, so that's why I had to say something. I wanted to hear your voice, all of you.
Yes,
Okay,
please.
thanks.
you can see me
Okay.
also I'm sitting there
Okay, Shanta. Now, this you can just watch the behavior of a man and how uncomfortable the women feels at that time. Just see the expression on the faces. This is how the girl, she feels so uncomfortable when she is being sexually harassed, when she is being treated against her wishes at the workplace. Shall I move?
yes,
Please.
yes, please, ma'am.
How does it start? Harmless banter in the beginning. In the beginning, when you join the job, you go to the office, he'll come to you and then he'll say, no problem, I'm sitting over there. I'm like a father figure. Anytime, any problem, you're always welcome. Please come to me. You can discuss anything with me. This is how he starts. And you feel so good that this man is so good. He's always there to help me. So when you don't react to that and you're happy, you feel your acceptance, then unwelcome physical contact. On his next visit to your seat, he will put his hand on your back. He will start rubbing your back. He will start touching your hairstyle and giving you comments on your dress, on your body, on your hairstyle. Sexually tinged language. And he'll start saying, you look so beautiful and this color suits you so well. Do you visit the beauty parlor also? There's no need for you. Otherwise also you look so beautiful. So such type of remarks will start giving. Invitation to dinner. Today evening, what are you doing? My wife is not here. Let's go out for dinner. Threats regarding job and career. If you don't accept, if you don't respond to his advances, then he will show his true color. What is his true color? To threaten you about your job, about your career. Your son is in class 12, shall I transfer to you such and such place? You are expecting your promotion next month. This is what, I mean, then he will threaten you that I'm going to stop here. Now the present problem in what I feel on the organization, now government or the organization, they have stopped taking people on the permanent basis. People are on contract basis. So the girls, they say that, ma'am, if we react, if we say anything, we are likely to lose our job. So that is a big threat for women at present now. So that's why we have to be very careful that how to stop that man in the very beginning and don't give him any false hope or false impression. Now, how does it impact? All of you, you can feel how does it impact. I don't have to say it. Violates freedom and personal dignity. It's against the self-respect of a woman. If a man passes comments which you don't like, if a man try to touch you the way you don't like, injury to equal rights. You think that I am also here working like others, that why he has just chosen me and he has started troubling me. Psychological, physical turmoil resulting in absenteeism. So what will happen? You lose your appetite, you will lose your night sleep, and that will result in your bad health, which will result in absenteeism. Otherwise, also you lose the charm of coming at your workplace, and that's why you find the excuses to absent yourself from the workplace. Unhealthy, hostile environment, people will definitely gossip. Objectification, you are not being treated as a human being, you are being treated as an object only. Feeling of discriminatory behavior, that why I have been chosen like that, why this discrimination against this gender, because I'm a woman, that's why I'm being treated like. Sexual harassment is a mirror reflecting manpower. So the way the men behave at workplace, at the domestic level, in the social gathering, at the marketplace, in the country, in the cities, that shows that what type of mindset the men of that country they do have. So that is a mirror that reflects with the mindset of the men of that country. This is how the woman is. She is working with the man, but this is how her internal feeling is when she is being harassed. Why I'm telling you all these things? When you deal with the cases, because now most of us, we have crossed the stage when we can be sexually harassed. But when you go and deal with the cases, you have to put yourself in the shoes of that girl, and you will realize कि वो कैसे suffer कर रही है. If you realize that how she is suffering, only then you will be able to help her. So this is how she feels. So the main things that the external member has to be extremely sensitive about the problem of that woman, about the condition of that woman, the psychological impact of the harassment, the physical impact, the economic impact. Only then we shall be able to handle the cases properly. If we go as guest, हम तो AIWC को represent करने आए हैं. I have just come here to spend 2 hours and all, and I'm sorry, we are not going to help the woman. So the aim is to help the woman, to bring that woman out of that, you can say, turmoil. And in order to bring her out of that turmoil, we have to put ourselves in the shoes of that woman. Only then we can help her. So with that attitude, we have to go that in what way. There was one case, and the chairperson was saying, Madam, take case nahi. I said, I would like to talk to that girl at a secluded place. When I took her to another room, that girl cried like a child. And then she spoke everything, whatever was there in her heart. So, Madam, this is how he behaved, this is what he said, this is how he treated. Of course, he was removed from service. Now, I'll just give example about few cases. First, just now I said about Rajasthan, I have told you about Panwari Devi's case, which led to Vishaka guidelines. Second is Rupan Deol Bajaj versus KPS Gill. Most of us, we know about KPS Gill, a very strong man, very dominating personality. He was a very senior police officer who stopped terrorism in Punjab. So Rupan Deol Bajaj, she was also an IPS officer. So when they were sitting in a get together, he just pointed at her and called her to his seat. He didn't get up. So he went to his seat where she was sitting, and he stood in such a way that she wasn't able to get up. So she moved her chair and she got up. When she got up, he hit her on her buttocks. उसने उसकी पीठ के नीचे में उसको जोर से मारा. And she felt that her dignity was lost. So she made a complaint in the office. Office people said, no, he's such a senior officer. Uski to itni approach hai. How can you handle her? So please forget. No. She was not a lady to forget this humiliation. So she went to the district court, to high court, and ultimately to Supreme Court. When she went to the Supreme Court, it was, I think, 4 or 5 years before, when Supreme Court gave the decision that KPS Gill has to be imprisoned for 6 months, or he has to pay a fine of rupees 2,50,000 to Rupan Deol. So he paid 2,50,000 to Rupan Deol, and Rupan Deol donated that money to one of the NGOs. So that's why this case is very important, even before the Vishaka guidelines were there. I think in the history of sexual harassment, perhaps this was the first case which has been noted. Second is A.K. Chopra Apparel Export Promotion Council. First case in which Vishaka guidelines are applied by the Honorable Supreme Court. So this is also a very important case. A.K. Chopra, he was a PA to a senior officer. And one young girl, she was working as a typist. So he used to harass that girl. So ultimately, there was one convocation in Taj Palace in Delhi. And he asked that girl that you also come and join. She said, I'm just a typist. I've got no role to play. He said, no, you have to come. So she went over there and he asked her to jot down whatever was being going on in the discussions. During lunchtime, he told her that there's a business session in the basement where we have to go and prepare the report. So while in the lift also, he tried to misbehave with that girl. And in the business section also, when she was supposed to write whatever happened in the meeting, there also he tried to misbehave. So next day, 2 days conference was there. Both the days he tried to trouble her. Third day when she came to the office, she reported the matter to the seniors. And the man was removed from service. There was a proper investigation, inquiry was conducted, and he was found guilty and he was removed. He was removed from service. So that man, he went to High Court. High Court, well, just an example that how insensitive the men are there who are sitting on high posts. High Court, Chief Justice said, he tried to molest a woman, but he didn't molest. So that's why he's not guilty. He's taken back to his job, but his seniority and back wages may not be given. So the other women of that council, they went to Supreme Court and they filed a petition. They said either he is guilty or he is not guilty. If he is guilty, he should be removed from service as per the directions of the management. If he is not guilty, then why you are stopping his wages and why you are not giving him his seniority? So Supreme Court gave the judgment. Supreme Court, of course, they shouted at High Court also that you have got no right to interfere in such cases and go into the details. But Supreme Court, what did Supreme Court say? Any action or gesture, whether directly or by implication. This is very important. Directly implication, it is now in the Act. It wasn't in Vichaka guidelines. Directly or by implication aims at or has the tendency to outrage the modesty of female employee must fall under the general concept of definition of sexual harassment. They said any action of man, any gesture, whether it's directly he is doing or it's implied, indirectly he is doing. Through his actions, he is conveying that message, which outrages the modesty of women, which is against the dignity of women, in which the woman feels hurt and in which the women feels humiliated. That is the definition of sexual harassment. And they clarified the matter further because High Court had said that he tried to molest but didn't molest. They said, does an action of the superior against a female employee, which is against moral sanctions and doesn't withstand test of decency and modesty, not amount to sexual harassment? Is physical contact with the female employee an essential ingredient of such a charge? These are some of the questions. So what was the question? Question was, do you think that physical outrage is important for that? They said, even if he doesn't touch, if physically he didn't touch the women, but his action amounts to that outraging the modesty of the women or goes against the decency and the modesty of the women, that amounts to sexual harassment. So this is how further they define that sexual harassment doesn't amount to only passing sexual remarks, physical touch, or asking for sexual favors. Even if a person he behaves or acts in such a manner that the women feels uncomfortable, humiliated, it outrages the modesty, that amounts to sexual harassment. Now recent, May 23, again Supreme Court intervened when there was a case of that wrestlers against that MP. At that time, what did Supreme Court say? Very important. Two-judge bench of Apex Court underlined how being a victim of such a deplorable act not only dents the self-esteem of a woman, it also takes a toll on her emotional, mental, and physical health. That's how it affects the mental health also, emotional health also, and the physical health of a woman. They have used the word dents the self-esteem. So when you try to behave like that, when they behave like that, I mean, in so many cases they say, I am like a father to her. So there was one case in which the girl was a research scholar, and that man, he said, "Ye to meri beti ki tarah hai." And that girl said that when I got married, he's asking me this question, "How is your sex life?" And he's calling me every night at 11:30, 12 o'clock. Then "Ye meri beti hai, isliye phone karta hu." I asked him, I said, "Did you have her, is your own daughter?" He said, "I got a daughter, she stays in Dubai." I said, "How many times in a day do you talk to her?" He said, "After 1 week, 10 days, I talk to her." I said, "Mr. So-and-so, you talk to your own biological daughter only once in 15 days, once in 10 days. And what is so special about this girl to whom you talk every night at 11:30, 12 o'clock?" So I always say, never think that he is a father figure. There's no father except your own father. So this type of behavior they indulge in order to attract the girls. So Supreme Court, I'm sorry, I'm coming back to Supreme Court. It also takes an emotion. At times they are reluctant to report such misconduct, even drop out from a job. As I said in the beginning about myths and facts, when we say the case is false, they say so many times, even when the women, she's being ill-treated at the workplace, she leaves the place and she refuses to make it. Why this noise is coming? What, kahan se? Huh?
There is echo.
Echo. Now, no? Oh, yes. I hope all have muted their this thing. Na? Muted है
अभी
सबका?
नहीं है कुलजीत जी,
अभी नहीं आ
अभी
रहा है?
नहीं है.
Okay, okay. I don't know what's different type of sound was coming. मेरे को लग रहा था कि डेमन मेरे को हो कर रहा है. So I got scared a little bit. So what did Supreme Court say? That because of this misconduct, the girls at times they lose their jobs also. Last week itself, I got a mail from a girl. She is working in Ministry of Cooperatives. So she said, "Madam, ऐसे मेरे साथ होता है, feel harassed and all and all." Then I sent her a message that I'm not a part of your sexual harassment committee. You better talk to your chairperson of sexual harassment committee. And if there is no sexual harassment committee, immediately you can send this complaint to the Ministry and Women and Child. They have called it what is it called? Poll is there where you can make the complaint directly and then they directly get in touch with your management. Then I told her this thing, then she called me. I don't know from where she got my number. She said, "Madam, I have left the job." So I said, when you have left the job, nobody can help you. So girls, so many times they feel so bad, they feel so embarrassed and so harassed that and you know that when the girl leaves the job, it affects her life, the life of the family, the life of the children, and everything. Posh won't ensure dignity and respect for women in the workplace until there's a strict adherence to the enforcement regime and proactive approach by all organizations. He said there is no importance of having Posh Act if it's not being followed seriously by the organization. So it doesn't have any impact unless you follow the act. So that's why following Posh Act, having committee to deal with Posh Act, having committee to deal with sexual harassment at workplace is very important. Now, shall we start with the act? This was the background to mentally prepare you about sexual harassment. Now I'll talk that the terms in sexual harassment. What do we call what? This provision was Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013 provision of the law. First is, as I said previously, the definition of sexual harassment. Now, as per the act, the definition has further been increased. There is a difference between Vishaka guidelines and the act because Vishaka guidelines talk about organized sector whereas talks about unorganized sector also. After the enactment of the Act, Champa ji, please mute yourself. Even the woman who is working in your house, your domestic help, जो आपके कपड़े प्रेस करती है, खाना बनाती है, बर्तन करती है, सफाई करती है, if she is also being harassed at your place, she is also covered under this act. So the act has widened its scope and sphere. It has included unorganized sector also. So when it has included unorganized sector, the women, those who are coming as labor, as domestic help, that is more than 18 million women. You know that 79% of women, they are working in unorganized sector. So all of them, they are covered under that Act of 2013, which we call as Posh. For them, the arrangement is different. There is local committee. We are not going to talk about that. We are going to talk about workplace offices only. So, promise of preferential treatment in employment, implied or explicit. If the boss tries to give some preferential treatment also, हमारे time में तो ये होता था, you come late और आपके register में attendance नहीं लगेगी. Now, of course, biometric system is there, and I don't think the boss can help the girl that way. Threat of detrimental treatment. If she doesn't accept his advances, then detrimental treatment. Throwing the file on her face, not permitting her to join the conference, not give her sufficient work or overload her with work, not to guide her and publicly humiliate her. This is how he starts doing. Threat about her present or future employment, create an intimidating, offensive, hostile work environment for her. So many times when the girls, they make a complaint that the environment has been made very hostile for me. He insults me in front of others. He humiliates me in front of others. And he doesn't take care that what is my contribution, what is my productivity. Don't think that it's an administrative matter. This is also sexual harassment because it is the result of a refusal to her advances. So that's why now he's fed up and he has started showing his power, the power of his post, and he has started misbehaving with the girl. Humiliating treatment likely to affect health and safety, which I have already discussed, the impact of sexual harassment. Now, when a woman makes a complaint, we don't call her victim. As per the language and the terms of the act, we call her aggrieved woman. Aggrieved, and in short form, we call her AW. Now, when I talk about the act, I use the term AW, and now victim or aggrieved woman. That is section 2A calls the woman as aggrieved woman. So who is aggrieved woman? Who is the woman who can make a complaint of sexual harassment? In relation to a workplace, a woman of any age, whether employed or not, means, for example, AIWC is having a head office and we have placed order for stationery. A woman comes to deliver stationery and a man from AIWC tries to misbehave her. He can also make a complaint against that man at the workplace. He's not employed, but she has got the right to have safe spaces wherever she visits in the definition of workplace. In relation to a dwelling place or house, a woman who is employed, as I told you already, a woman who is working in your house, ironing your clothes, cooking your food, cleaning the utensils, or keeping up the home, if she is also being ill-treated or sexually harassed, she is also covered under this act. She also comes under the definition of aggrieved women. Regular, temporary, if she is a regular employee, maybe a temporary employee, maybe ad hoc, maybe a daily wager working in the building, engaged directly or indirectly. Maybe directly you have employed her, or maybe through the contract she is employed. Volunteers, those who come to do the free job. Probationers, those who are interns. and visitors, as I've given the example of a girl who brings the stationery. All these women, those who are regular, temporary, ad hoc, daily wager, engaged directly, any women, the function or her activity related to workplace, and if she is being harassed, she has got the right to complain, and she comes under the definition of aggrieved women. We cannot say ये तो हमारे काम नहीं करती है, ये तो हमारी employee नहीं है. No, any women in the interest of work, काम के लिए, काम की definition में, if she visits your place and she is harassed, even though she is not a regular employee in your office, she is also covered under this act and the definition of aggrieved women. Now, respondent, who is respondent? The person, unless he is found guilty, we cannot say that he is a criminal or he is guilty. We call him respondent, the person who will respond to the complaint made by the women. So a person against whom the aggrieved woman has made a complaint under section 9, he is called a respondent.
जी देखिए, दिख रहा है? हाँ जी, दिख रहा है अब? चलो देखो फिर,
People, some problem?
स्क्रीन देखो ना. हाँ हाँ हाँ, ठीक है. अरे देखो तो सही. हाँ हाँ देखो, सुनो, अपनी आवाज बंद करो.
Mute yourself, please. Mute yourself. So problem है तो बताइए. If there's any problem, please. Is there any problem?
ठीक है.
ठीक है. Okay. Shall I move forward? Now this is very important. Workplace, of course, I have covered also. Section 2O. Any organization owned, controlled wholly or substantially, financed by funds provided directly or indirectly by the appropriate government. Any such organization, any such place which is controlled by the government, financed by the government, is called workplace. Any private sector organization, but it's not being financed by government, that is also organization, is a workplace. A dwelling place or a house, as I already discussed. Any place visited by the employee arising out of it during the course of employment, including transportation provided by the employer. Even if you are given a gadi from the office and the driver misbehaves, or your colleague sitting with you in the gadi misbehaves with you, or you are coming by bus and the colleague sitting with you tries to misbehave, that also covers the workplace of that woman. Whether owned by Indian or foreign company having place or work in India. Even if a foreign company is working in India, so many companies are there in India these days now. If they are working, they have to follow the rules made by Posh Act, and they are also covered under the definition of workplace. They can't say, कि हम तो American company है, हम तो Japanese company है, we are not covered Indian law. No, when they work in India, they are covered under the Indian law. Posh Act is applicable to these companies if they are having their office in India. Workplace extended. Now workplace, another definition, I mean extended definition, office parties. For example, आपकी कोई deal होगी government के साथ, कहीं deal होगी, and so many times it does happen that in the evening you want to have a party, get together. So the office has arranged for a party, and there's something untowards happen in that party which amounts to sexual harassment. That party is also covered under the definition of workplace. Training, you have been sent for training, or you are traveling in the interest of the office work, and you are troubled on the way, that is also covered under workplace. So this is the definition. A very, you can say that broad definition of workplace has been given in the Act. So any action relating to your workplace, whether it's outside the office, inside the office, contract, regular, employed, temporary, probationer, intern, and you are being harassed, that place will be covered under the definition of workplace under the Act Posh prevention of sexual harassment. Now, this is very important. This is where हमारा role आ जाता है. We're involved at this step. Actually, our role starts the moment we become the member of the complaint committee, because the people in the organization, they don't know anything. When they get a case, they just give you a call and say, "Madam, case आ गया, अब क्या करना है?" So you have to guide them from the very first step, that what you're supposed to do now. What is your duty now? What is your responsibility now? What you have to do at every step, even in the last step when they prepare the report, that time also they seek your guidance. So that's why we as external member, we as member of AIWC, we must know each and everything about this. When they start with the case and they say, victim ne ye bola. No, call her AW. She's not a victim because it's not proved whether she has been harassed or not. Unless we prove that she has been sexually harassed, we cannot call her a victim. So, role हमारा शुरू से शुरू हो जाता है. The moment you become the member of the external committee, first of all, when you become member, make them aware that what is this act, what is this law, what is Posh, how to handle it, so that when the complaint comes, then they shouldn't be caught unaware. So, what is Constitutional Complaint Committee? Section 4 of the Act deals with the complaint committee. Every employer of a workplace to constitute an internal complaint committee through a written order if the strength is 10 or more. Any organization, I have given you the definition of workplace, any such workplace where the people working, where the strength is 10 or more than 10, it is mandatory, it's compulsory that they must have complaint committee. They must form a complaint committee and the order should be written. You can't say, "Aap chairperson ho ji, aap member secretary ho ji, ye external member," and no. A written order should be issued by the employer, by the head of the office, to say that who is the chairperson, who is the external member, who are the other members of the complaint committee, if the strength of that organization is 10 or more. If offices or administrative units are located at different places, at all administrative units or offices. For example, we have got, I'll talk about Delhi. If you got one office at Connaught Place, other offices at Nehru Place or Vasant Kunj, then you should have separate committees at all the offices. You cannot say this committee will visit that place also. No, that place is meant for those employees. This place is meant for these employees. So you should have separate complaint committees at every offices which are there, maybe in one city only. Presiding officer shall be a woman employed at a senior level. The presiding officer must be employer of that organization. Now, what reason? It's for that because so many times people will call me and say, "Madam, हम आपको chairperson बनाना चाहते हैं." मैं कहती नहीं. I can be the external member. I cannot be the chairperson. There is a problem to that because the chairperson has got all the responsibilities. He has to fix the date for the meeting. She has to see the availability of the girl. She has to see the availability of the respondent. She has to see the availability of the witnesses. Then she has to arrange for the computer also. Paraphernalia, chai deni hai, pani dena, lunch offer karna. That is to be arranged for, everything has to be arranged by the chairperson, who is going to record the proceeding, who is going to use the computer, who is going to prepare the report. So an outsider doesn't have that control over the members of that office. So that's why it becomes physically, it becomes difficult and impossible to work efficiently as a chairperson of a place to which you don't belong. So my request to the members is, maybe sometimes the offer is made, you become the chairperson. You become the chairperson, the law doesn't say anything, but you will face the problem. So chairperson should be a senior officer of that organization only. If, I mean, the person who is a respondent, chairperson should normally be senior to him. If you don't have any senior lady officer in your office, you can always invite such members, senior officer from the other organizations also and from other offices also. So members normally should not accept the offer of chairmanship. Now, constitution. So what is there in the committee? That's very important. When they form the committee, you be very aware of that. Be careful, committee mein kya ho raha hai. Not less than 2 members from amongst employees with experience in social work or have legal knowledge. 2 people should be from that organization only, and very sensitive type of people, not that they start shouting at the girl, or they're the one who are responsible for harassing the girl, or they're the one who are cooperating with the harasser. No, those people should be sensitive about the issues of women. So it's always better to have one male also, because then you get the male attitude, uski contribution, uski outlook bhi ho jati hai, and the area widens. And when you are making the discussions, even you are concluding the matter, at that time the men, their contribution, their perception, it helps a lot. So 2 people, maybe 1 man, 1 woman, should be from that office, those who are sensitive about the issues of women, or those who have got legal knowledge also. Not that unko pura कानून का ये होएगा 306 ये कहता है, 506 ये कहता है. No, normal, but what the act says, what the acts are for the safety of women. So, what type of man? Impartial, independent, maintain confidentiality. That is very important, because when you start gossiping, discussing, it involves the character of a person, the personality of a person. If a woman has made a complaint, and maybe the complaint is false, or maybe true also, but doesn't mean that you will character assassinate that person, or you will start gossiping about that girl also, but then how the girls will come forward. So that's why confidentiality is very important to maintain. That person, I mean, should be mature enough, organized enough, dependable enough, that he will maintain the confidentiality of the whole issue. नहीं तो ये नहीं लाया, अरे आज आपको बढ़िया बात बताता हूँ, पता क्या हुआ उस केस में, the girl said, I mean, it shouldn't become a matter of gossip. He should be mature enough to control his feelings and his thoughts. Empathetic, fearless, because so many times they come under the control of the senior officer, the respondent, the one who is responsible for harassing the girl. Ability to create rapport with AIW and witness. So he should be nice to that girl. He should try to respect that girl. He should try to understand the complaint she is making. He should try to understand the feeling and the emotions of that girl. And the witness is also those who are trying to corroborate, or those who are trying to help that girl in the case. Understand issues involved, interview skills, ability to identify follow-up question, because at certain stage you have to interview the girl also, the respondent also, the witnesses also. So that person should have the ability to prepare questions, soft questions, those it doesn't hurt the girl, and to take out the truth from the girl also and from the respondent also. Members to hold office for a term of 3 years. 1 member from amongst non-governmental organs. This is where we stand. This is where our role now comes. What type of person we should be when we are working as external member of a committee? Expertise, skill, and capacity to handle cases of sexual harassment. Well, the girl is explaining and to start crying over there. Have self-control. You can listen to that, understand that, react to that, handle that. That type of maturity should be there in the external member. External member to hum ban jate hain, but hamari jo duty as external member, that we are not able to perform. So वो लड़की को भी impact करती है and impacts the reputation of the organization also. So when we become the external member, we should be very, very careful about all these things, how to be empathetic, how to be sensitive, how to understand, how to relate to that, and how to try to help the girl. Even if it's a false case, you have the responsibility to convince her. No, beta, this is not a case of sexual harassment, this is your grievance. But don't try to shout at her, misunderstand her, gossip about her. 5 years, well, the condition is 5 years, but so many times it's less than 5 years also. If you are sensitive about the women issues, you can always go and participate as external member. The organization don't ask these questions. Familiar with service rules, civil and criminal. A little bit you should be aware that when you are recommending the punishment, what type of punishment can be given to the man, the one who has been found guilty. A little bit familiarity with the act also, with the law also, and how to handle the things also. 1/2 of the total members so nominated shall be women. 50% of members of that committee should be women. So that's why I said एक आदमी रख सकते दो. एक जगह में गई थी वहां पर I saw that line of men sitting over there. I said, what nonsense! How the girl is able to talk in front of so many men? I said, this is a women complaint committee or men complaint committee? 1 or 2, not more than 2. Don't permit more than 2 people. NGO members shall be paid allowance. Chairperson and members entitled to allowance for holding proceeding. Now shall be paid allowances. So, as per the act, they say that 200. But please, I'm telling you, maintain your self-respect. Tell them that at least they should send you the transport. If you start doing free work, nobody is going to respect you. They'll take you for granted. ये तो ऐसे ही आ सकती है. Whenever they call you, maintain your self-dignity first there. Say that date should be fixed according to my convenience also. चाहे आप 2 दिन free हो, but उसको बोलो कल मैं busy हूँ, मैं परसों आ सकती हूँ. These are the not the part of the act. This is I'm just telling you. At least they should give you that much of respect to send you the transport. इतना जरूर करिएगा, whether you charge money or not, that I leave to you. Okay? Now, important. If there is no complaint, then where's the use of external member? Section 9. Complaint. क्या है? What's the definition of complaint? A grieved woman may make in writing to the complaint committee. Complaint should always be in writing. Because if you listen to her complaint and start acting, following the act, in between she can say, "मैं तो complaint करी नहीं थी." It does happen. So complaint should be taken in writing before you start acting on the complaint. Within a period of 3 months from the date of last incident. It was not like Me Too that you can make complaint anytime. As per the act, when she narrates the different incidents of sexual harassment, the last incident should be at least only 3 months before when she has made before the date she has made the complaint. यानी कि 2 साल पहले उसने मेरे साथ ऐसा किया. अगर 2 साल पहले किया and it is continuing and the last incident was 3 months before, she is fit, liable to make complaint. But अगर 10 साल के बाद 5 साल के बाद जागती है and the thing is already closed, then you cannot accept the complaint. The last incident, as per the complaint, should have happened at least 3 months. Maybe later also, 15 दिन पहले भी हो सकता है, 1 week पहले भी हो सकता है, but maximum 3 months पहले हुए, only then you accept the complaint. If during 3 months nothing has happened, this means the things have been sorted out. Legal heir can make complaint if the woman is incapacitated, अगर उसका accident हो गया, bedridden. If she's not in a position to make a complaint, the legal heir can also write a complaint. Even she can take the help of a committee member also in writing a complaint. No party can bring a legal practitioner. It's not that you go for the meeting, the complainant comes with the great woman, brings a advocate, and he says, I'm going to fight the case. The main purpose for this act is that only so that the women don't have to play in the hands of advocates and the matter remains inside the organization, inside the office, and the office people should try to help the sort out problem which is being faced by the girl. That is the main objective of this act. जैसे हम कहते हैं ना हिंदी में घर की बात घर में रहे. So the organization matter should remain and it shouldn't be handled by High Court or by Supreme Court. So that's why this committee is there. So therefore there is no need, it's not legally permitted under the act to bring a legal help in the meeting. Now, that is the first step. That is, you can call that Kalyani? I don't know. Now, the first step is conciliation. So many times it does happen that the girl also doesn't want the case to be taken so far that the witnesses are called and all. She also just wants to give him this warning that stop behaving with me like that. If you don't stop behaving like that, then of course I will make a complaint and you'll have to suffer. So when the girl comes, you can always ask that if a man apologizes, are you prepared to accept the apology? And then in so many cases, she says, हाँ जी मैंने तो उसको aware करवाना है that I don't accept this type of behavior. Otherwise, I don't want to give any punishment to him or to his family. So if he accepts his fault, if he changes his behavior, and if in return he gives the apology, then I'm prepared to forgive him. Apology. So many times it does happen that at the conciliation step, conciliation level, the case is closed. But you have to ask the girl what she wants in the apology. Recently, we had that case where conciliation was made, but that girl, she gave 5 points. That if he accepts 5 points, these 5 points, only then I am prepared to have conciliation. First was that he should, in front of the committee, he should apologize. He should never repeat this act. If he repeats, I should be given the permission to reopen the case. So things like that she had given. So that man, we gave him the 5 conditions. He accepted 5 conditions and he apologized and followed all those 5 conditions. And then that girl said, okay, now I'm prepared to forgive him. And case is then closed. But no monetary. That girl can't say if he gives me 25,000, so I'll prepare to close the case or withdraw the case. It's not like no money, no finances, nothing is involved at the conciliation. Only apology, and then you can give him this warning to that respondent, to that man, that don't repeat this type of behavior. If it is repeated again, the committee will take you very seriously if it's repeated. So if the girl wants the conciliation, for example, if the case is not very serious, he has passed some comments and she has taken it very seriously, then he can always apologize, and then she has to give in writing that I accept his apology and I request the committee to please close the case. I am satisfied with the language of his apology. So case is state में close हो जाता है. So that is the first condition. Conciliation, if she is prepared, because if the case is not very serious, and sometimes she just wants to teach him lesson or make him aware that your behavior is not acceptable. I don't accept this type of advice. वो माफी मांग लेता है written में, but not that habitually that he goes on harassing and then he apologizes and then you close the case. No. Only once you give him this opportunity that the girl, if you apologize, if you accept the condition of a girl, in writing he has to give. और वो जो writing में देता है, that will go to his personal file. It will become the part of his personal file. तो वो लिख के देगा. If he repeats, फिर conciliation नहीं होगी. So you have to ask the girl, you have to ask the man that she is prepared to conciliate. If you give all in this writing, then she will request the committee that case may be closed, but nothing financial or monetary. ये तो फिर तो business हो जाएगा. अब एक के खिलाफ करा 25,000, दूसरे के खिलाफ करा 50,000. So no further inquiry shall be conducted. Now 7 steps which the IIC follows. First is the girl gives the complaint. Whether it amounts to sexual harassment at workplace, we have to see whether it's covered under the sexual harassment or the girl is making a false complaint or there's a misunderstanding. So it's not that false complaint only, it can be misunderstanding also. Conciliation, as just now I've said, planning, schedule. If there is no conciliation, then you have to plan the dates also when you are going to have the meeting and the place where you are going to have. You must select a place. You cannot handle these cases openly sitting in the lobby or somewhere. Some closed door place should be given where the confidentiality is maintained and the people are not permitted to enter and go and come up at that place. So that confidentiality is not disturbed. Planning and interview. AW, if when the case is going on, schedule dates, then you have to interview the aggrieved women, the respondent, witnesses, and after that, they have to give you statements in written, reasoning. Then now discussion amongst the members. Finding recommendation, you're finding that whether he is guilty or not, based on the guilt, then you give the recommendation to the disciplinary authority. Report writing, when you prepare the report. So what all these things tomorrow, when we again talk about that in detail, these are just the 7 steps, the key points only. I discuss these things in detail tomorrow. So report writing and all, then you can recommend also the penalty. It depends. Now comes the role of DOPT. DOPT says that if the man is found guilty in the preliminary investigation, then it is the prerogative of the disciplinary authority whether they want to follow the service rules of the central government or they accept the penalty recommended by the committee, or they want to issue a charge sheet and they want to that follow the method of disciplinary authority. That is the prerogative. हमारे एक्ट में तो यहाँ तक है. This is very important. Section 14. If allegation against the respondent is malicious, action can be taken against the woman in accordance with the service rule. If the allegation is given in a very, you can say that malicious, you have got some wrong inclination, and under that, if you make the complaint, you want to harass that man, you want to humiliate that man, and it is found that the complaint that is not right, that is false, then the women will also get the same penalty which the man would have got who does the sexual harassment. But mere non-substantiation doesn't establish malice. For example, she has got no proof, no documentary proof कि उसने मेरे को messages भेजे या phone करे या something like that, or she doesn't have witnesses. Witnesses are when you're working in the office, he misbehaves with you, you come back and you are the person, your colleague who is sitting next to you, he notices that how bad you're feeling, how disturbed you are, and he can become a witness. Or you have shared that thing with your friend. कि जब मैं अंदर जाती हूँ मेरे को ये बोलता है, ऐसे हैंडल करता है, और ये उसने मेरा हाथ पकड़ लिया, उसने मेरा साड़ी का पल्लू खींच लिया, दुपट्टा उसने खींच लिया. If you come and share with your friends, your friend will become your witnesses. But in so many cases, the girls don't come and share. So that's why they don't have witnesses. Or at so many times, your witnesses, because they are juniors and they're so scared of the senior officer, they refuse to become the witnesses. नहीं हमारी problem हो जाएगी, कल को मेरी report वो खराब करेगा. तो अगर उसके पास witnesses नहीं है और वो substantiate नहीं कर सकती, but you feel that the case is genuine, आपको उसकी body language से आपको पता चल जाएगा, the way she explains, the way she expresses herself, and when she makes the complaint and she gives the statement, the third part is you ask that girl there and then, give her a place, separate place, and ask her to write everything whatever you have said today. So when she writes the statement and you take the statement, whatever she has said, whatever she has written, whatever she has made a complaint about, if you compare all these three things, you definitely reach to a conclusion whether the case is false or case is genuine. So आपको अपनी intelligence use करनी पड़ेगी. There was a case day before I was handling that case, and that boy had taken that girl to a secluded place. उस बेचारे को कुछ काम था, कमरे में ले गया. And he said, "Ji, I didn't do anything with this girl." So I just asked him. I said, "Judge, went to that room. कमरे में क्या पड़ा हुआ था?" With एकदम मतलब he was stumped. तो ये मेरे से क्या सवाल पूछे? I said, "Was there any safe sofa?" अब लड़की को लेके गए. You must have planned कि कहाँ पर बैठेगी. मैंने कहा सोफा था, कुर्सी थी, कि पलंग था. That girl said, "जी पलंग." I said, "फिर आपने उसको क्या किया?" You started opening her buttons. तो he said कि नहीं. फिर मैंने कहा नहीं, पहले तो immediately said, "No, I hugged her and I kissed her." बात खत्म हो गई. So this is how you have to become very tactful and you reach to the fact of the case. So इतने सालों में I have faced only 2 cases which were false. एक केस में तो union उस लड़की को कहा, and I asked her, I said, "In what way he misbehaved with you?" He said, "I was sitting in his room, उसने मेरी breast को touch करा." टेबल बहुत बड़ा था, so it was very difficult कि बाजू किसी की दूसरी तरफ पहुंच जाए. मैंने उस आदमी को पकड़ा, मैंने कहा okay, you stand now. उस लेडी को मैंने बोला you sit over there. I said you try to touch his breast. बात ही नहीं पहुंचे. So then, I mean, you have to use your common sense. Only then you can understand and realize whether the case is genuine or the case is false. Hello. Hello, Janta. So mere substantiation, she is not able to bring the witnesses, or she is not able to give any proof, that doesn't mean that the case is false. You have to find out, use your common sense, use your text, and then you will realize whether the case is genuine or false. In 90% of the cases are genuine and false. Only thing is that our approach, there is something wrong with that, and we are not able to make out the case false. Give her some time, only then you will understand. जो बोलती है and जो वो लिखती है, and she comes and says because she doesn't know what to write in the complaint. She has never made a complaint, and we always say complaint में तो कुछ नहीं है, so it's not sexual harassment. Ask her to speak, say, I mean, dig into that and try to bring out the fact from her. अच्छा फिर वहाँ पर क्या हुआ? Then what he said, why did you feel that you are being harassed? फिर वो कहती नहीं, उसने मेरे हाथ से फिर पेन छीन लिया और मेरे हाथ पकड़ लिया उसने. अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा, ये हुआ, कहाँ पर हुआ, कब हुआ, आप कहाँ बैठे हुए थे, उसने क्यों आपके हाथ से छीन लिया? So then she will come with the truth, because she doesn't know कि कौन सी चीज को कैसे बयान करना है. We only know that what covers sexual harassment. She doesn't know. When she writes a complaint because she is feeling uneasy, she is being harassed, she just say that he is trying to harass me. When you talk to her, only then the truth will come out and you will realize that whether the complaint is false or complaint is genuine. So if that is also, if it is found that she has been suffering mentally, she has to consult a psychiatrist or a psychologist for that, or she has been hospitalized because of the behavior of that man, or she has developed some health problems because of the behavior and the harassment of that man, then that man has to give this financial compensation to the women based on the intensity of the trouble he has given to her, and based on the seriousness of the offense. Then he has to pay the amount that is to be decided by the committee only. Committee gives this recommendation to the disciplinary authority. Disciplinary authority will then decide that what amount he has to pay as compensation, whether it's to be deducted from the salary, if he's retiring from his retirement benefits, how the money has to be taken, and the financial help can be given to the girl also during the case, when the case is going on. If the girl feels harassed with the presence of that man, then she has the right to take 3 months leave, which is over and above the leave which she is otherwise officially entitled. So this type of help the committee can help the girl by transferring her when the case is going on, by giving instruction to the senior officer not to write her confidential report, or by sending that that girl on leave maximum for a period of 3 months. It can be less also, 1 month also, 15 days also, 2 months. That is that depends on the decision and the recommendation of the complaint committee. So the confidentiality has to be maintained, as I said previously also. Don't try to character assassinate, don't try to objectify, don't gossip about the matter, because it depends, it is about the character, about the dignity and the reputation of the respondent also, and of the AW also. And then they have got the right to appeal to the court, to the tribunal, within a period of 19 days. Agar she committee कहती है there is no case of sexual harassment, but she feels there is a case, she can go to the court. If not satisfied with the action taken, she can go to the court. And if there's a complaint which is false, the man can also go for appeal, and the time is 90 days. So this we'll do tomorrow. For the employer and all, it's not very important. This is the duty of the employer. So this Posh Act, what is the importance of the Posh Act? What is the impact? Provides clear definition of sexual harassment. There is no confusion what amounts to sexual harassment. Because in Vishaka, they have given clearly the articles of charges that physical, pornography, sexual advances, verbal, non-verbal. And when the act was formulated, that time again implied or explicit, hostile environment, threatening about our future, threatening about our job. So that also amounts to sexual harassment. So clearly the act defines what amounts to sexual harassment. अगर आपकी promotion नहीं हो रही, अगर आपका increment नहीं बढ़ रहा, that is not sexual harassment. So clear definition has been given by the act. Accountability of institutions and employer. It is the responsibility of the employer to create this type of environment so that there is no violence, no harassment, nothing goes against the dignity of women. This is the duty of the employer. For that, he has to create awareness programs from time to time, and at every important place, for example, receptions, washrooms, where the girls, they do visit those places regularly, he must put the board where the names of the chairperson of the committee, the members of the committee, along with the email IDs and phone numbers should be depicted clearly. Otherwise, if a girl feels she is being harassed, she doesn't know where to go. अगर उसको पता ही नहीं है कि कमेटी है, chairperson है, members हैं, then she doesn't know how to act, how to do, what to do next. In order to make a complaint, she should be aware that the committee does exist in this organization, and this is the number where I can get in touch and I can contact the chairperson or any of the members. That is the duty of the employer. Then establish international standard of law. So this act, that as I told you in the beginning, the definition of sexual harassment is based on the International Labour Organization. What definition they had given, the same definition has been picked up and given in this act also, in the Vichaka guidelines also. Safety of victims, witnesses, no victimization. So act also helps the victims also and the witnesses also, because you have to maintain the confidentiality also, and it is the responsibility of the employer that the girl is not victimized and even the witnesses are not victimized. And third is, whenever the committee summons the girl or the witnesses or the respondent, they have the right to attend, and the employer has given us this freedom that whenever they are summoned by the committee, they must attend to that, and that doesn't go against them or as a leave against them. Innovative mechanism for prevention, prohibition, and redressal. The act also covers the mechanism how to prevent it by creating awareness program, as I told you, put those boards also, and prohibit also, and redressal, and then form the committees. The very clear guidelines have been given in the act, how to prepare, how to organize, how to form a committee, and how the committee has to move forward. So tomorrow in detail, we are going to discuss that what is the role of committee, at what step, what committee is supposed to do at that time, remedy of civil and criminal proceeding. The authority of the committee, the chairperson of the committee is to the civil court judge. She has got that authority, because sexual harassment is civil case. But if the girl is physically assaulted, if the person has sexually tried to assault her, to rape her, to hug her, then it becomes a criminal case. And it becomes the responsibility of the employer that all the help is extended to the girl to file an FIR with the police. So this means the act covers it as a civil crime also, as a criminal crime also, and in both ways, the girl, the AW, has got the right to get a help from the employer as well as from the committee. It becomes the responsibility of the committee also to help that girl filing FIR to the police if it becomes a police case. Legally binding guidelines. So all these guides are legally binding. If you don't have a committee, complaint committee in the office, there's a penalty of 50,000. If second time again it is found that you didn't accept the law, follow the law, again double of the penalty which was there previously. So employer is supposed to conduct the awareness program, and there is a role of the government where every year you have to send a report to the government Even if there is no case, then the cases received were nil. Number of cases received, number of cases pending, number of cases handled, what punishments were given, all these details, all the organization, all the offices, they are supposed to send to the government, and then government prepares the documents based on that, and then the report is prepared about the sexual harassment. So the legislation has a very great impact on the women's dignity also, on the offices also, on the duties of the employer also, on the complaint committee also, on the external member also. So that is the impact of the law on the organization for the safety of the women, for the dignity of the women, for the respect of the women, and most important, for the fundamental rights to be followed by all the organization. And the women, all rights are human rights, and women also enjoy the same human rights which are enjoyed by the men of that country. So that is the impact of this legislation. So tomorrow, now I think time is up. Tomorrow I'll talk about when the complaint comes, how to go about. What is the role of the complaint committee, how the complaint committee has to work, and what is the role of external member. As I told in the beginning, external member is the main guide in handling such cases, and the committee 200% depends on the external member at every step, from receiving a complaint till the end, till the findings are decided, conclusion is made, recommendation is given, and report is written by the committee. Tomorrow we are going to do that. Thank you so much for listening to me patiently. I hope it did help you. But the main thing is that be sensitive about these matters. And we have a discussion. Tomorrow, we'll have time tomorrow because the number of slides is a little less. So we'll have time for interaction also. So today you can prepare the questions. And as Kalyani said in the beginning, के बहुत सवाल पूछो को मुझे परेशान कर. So pucho. So tomorrow, clarify everything, whatever doubt you have, because so many members from you, they're already external members in the organization. So any question you want to ask, you are most welcome. You can ask any questions. Thank you so much. You can unmute yourself. And even now, if you want to talk to me, you can. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kuljit.
Very nicely
Kuljit ji.
explained. Very nicely explained. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, so tomorrow same time. Thank you. 11:30, or you want to start early?
No, 11:30 is
11:30
okay.
is fine.
11:30 is okay.
11:30 is
Tomorrow
okay.
again 11:30, come prepared with the questions also, and then we'll discuss the question. We'll discuss the
Okay.
question.
Okay.
Thank you, Kuljit
Thank
ji.
you so much. अभी गरम
Thank
गरम
you.
डोसा भी खाओ, इडली खाओ, और मैं यहाँ बैठ के मुंह में पानी लाऊंगी. मुझे तो खाली दाल चावल ही मिलने वाला है. You people are going to have parathas and dosas and all those things. No, Nishi, what you are going to have for lunch?
लंच में दाल रोटी सब्जी.
हाँ, देखो सब्जी भी, रायता भी होएगा.
मट्ठा, not रायता.
हाँ, मट्ठा भी होएगा. Okay, thank you so much. Kalyani, you want to say something?
Kuljit.
Anji?
No, I think it has been a wonderful session. Sabko benefit definitely hua hoga, and we are looking forward to having people over again tomorrow. And I think tomorrow will be more relevant because the procedure for being part of the ICC will be explained. After I think Kuljit has explained all the laws, I mean acts and laws. There is one question I think on the chat box I see. What is AU? I think what you mean is AW. That is
AW is
woman.
aggrieved woman.
The woman.
As I said that she is not called a victim, she is called aggrieved woman as per the act.
I think it was a very good session. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Kuljit,
Kalyani.
and thank you all of you for joining. I hope it is beneficial. सबके लिए रहा होगा
Manju
beneficial.
also wants to say something.
Absolutely.
Manju. Please wait for a moment.
I just want to say that it's a very informative session, and I personally feel. Can you hear me? I personally
Yes,
feel
yes,
we will all
Yes.
benefit. We will all benefit if Kuljit allows us to make a little handbook authored by her on this on behalf of the AIWC, so that anybody wanting to refresh or something, they have it in their hands. And also एक हमारा propagation भी हो जाता है कि one of our members is an expert on the subject and is always available for consultation. So I think it is like a what we call the बिल्कुल जैसे कहते हैं बिल्कुल complete from every aspect, and nothing further is needed. Look forward to tomorrow. Thank you so much. My own net is not working, so I've come to sit here. हमारे कमरे में थोड़ा सा वो network का problem है.
Thank you so much, Manju. Thanks a lot.
Well, one request.
Anji.
Will you be able to give us some case studies tomorrow?
Okay, we'll discuss the case studies also. When I discussed about the external member, automatically the cases come to me. Today also 3-4 cases I have discussed. I'll discuss tomorrow also. In detail, I can say how we have handled those cases. Isn't it? That's what you want?
Yeah, that's what.
Okay. Okay. You didn't write your name. You have written your number only.
Pardon me? I'm
say
Preeta
your-
Raj.
Okay.
Preeta.
Okay, Preeta.
Preeta Raj.
But ma'am, Kuljit ma'am, I agree with Manju ma'am. We should get some handouts to preserve and refer whenever we need it.
Okay, sure. Okay, thank you so much. Enjoy your lunch, and tomorrow we meet at 11:30 again.
Yes.
Padmaji, is it okay?
Yes, yes.
Yes, 11:30 is fine.
11:30. Thank you so much. We have just requested you, and you have really given us, enlightened us on this subject, and we are looking forward to the further tomorrow session. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Tomorrow
you,
comes
Kuljit ji.
questions
That
also.
was very
Thank you.
insightful.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank
See you
you.
tomorrow. Okay.
Thank you, Mataji.
Okay.
Okay.
अच्छा रेहाना
Yeah. Thank you, Kuljit.
Thank you for all the comments also. Thanks a lot.
So,